So last year I posted a video with the list of characters that I just hated, but because I didn't give much of a reason as to why I hated Superman, this dude came into my comment section and stated his stance regarding this matter. And in my defense, I forgot why I hate Superman, but like Moon Knight said, a man has to have a code, right? Which then got me thinking. Me not having a reason as to hating someone is very uncharacteristic, but then I'm also lazy, so which is very much in character with me. And so I decided to do some introspection, look inward and really find the reason as to why I hate Superman. And I found my answers. First up, I don't like Superman because he's all powerful and damn near. And the craziest part about this is that he didn't have to do any work for that invincibility. He just existed. Man just simply existed and life decided to give him the lottery ticket since birth. Now, I thought about this and realized that apart from multiple places, this comes from a very negative place in me, maybe jealousy or envy. But we can negate this reason because I am looking for a valid reason as to why I hate Superman. I mean, me even looking for a reason is just weird. But let's just go with it. But then this brings me to reason number two, or is it one? Superman claims that he's human, just like the rest of us, and that he understands what it feels like to be human. And this pisses me off because, he's not human. He can never truly understand what it feels like to be human. He can only empathize for us and, pretend, maybe unconsciously or consciously, but pretend to be human. And it may sound like it, but I'm not even racist. Because I feel like if he was like, you know what, fuck all of you, I'm Kryptonian as fuck and I'm better than you, I would somewhat understand. All this, I'm just a human like the rest of you thing, makes me think that he's just code switching, trying to fit in, like some rich billionaire trying to convince the poor people that he's just like them. Which then brings me neatly along to the third reason, what he stands for. Now, before you start thinking that I work for less cope, I'm not. In fact, Spider-Man also stands for hope, and he's in like the top 5 best superheroes. But the reason why I hate Superman standing out for hope is because of who he is. Because again, I'm not racist. Superman calls on to others to be better, to be more hopeful, and he's the person we should all aspire to be. And it's like, yeah, that's a very good message. But my guy, look who's talking. The bulletproof god who gets all of his powers from the sun, and with almost none, and I mean none, of the human weaknesses. And if you take away his weak mind, then this dude is practically perfect. And I can't help but feel like every time we see him with his problems, it's always like, oh, woe is me, look at me, I'm suffering. And then he does a complete 180, which then brings me along to his self-righteousness. Now, this is a firm, often arrogant belief that, one's beliefs or behaviors or morals are better than others. And in Superman's defense, he doesn't try to come across as arrogant and is mostly understanding and humble. What ruins this is that when he does, I wouldn't say impose, even though that word fits perfectly. Let's just say when he expects others to do the right thing. Nah, when he does do that, it just feels wrong because we all have different behaviors, morals, and religion, and all the whatnot. But to believe that others, though they may be bad, should follow your way of doing things is very seaward behavior. And in some cases, I can understand what he says. Because on one hand, you'll have like some psycho killer who believes in killing people, and that's when I'm like, you know what, I'm on your side, soups. But then when he expects others to behave in a certain way, that's when I'm like, you know what, my guy, calm down.
But then while writing this, I remembered an argument I had with someone who was basically dissing comic books. And I said to him, I said that at oftentimes when people diss something, they tend to not know what that something is. And then at this moment, I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's me. And thus, I decided to watch the movies so as to have a more solid reason as to why I hate this man. And now, I didn't even bother with the animated shows or the comic books because I know the farces at play. Farces? Because I know the farces at play. Because the illogical actions he and the characters tend to make really be annoying me. So too is the showcasing of Dixas. It's like, look what I can do, look what I have. And while that may excite others, it does nothing for me. So I decided to stick with the movies. And thus I watched Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Now, this isn't a critic video or review, it's just my very, very subjective thought. Emphasis on the subjective. Now, first up, while watching this movie, another reason as to why I hate Superman flicks popped up. That being the characters. Now, I too have been bullied, so I understand. But all of these characters solely exist for the purpose of bullying this man. Now, while I can never understand the stupid mind of a bully, but this is excessive. Now, sure, there are people like this in our world as well, but the movie's point to emphasize this is really a bit excessive in my eyes. It's like, yo, guys, Superman has a hard life. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, But then again, every character behaves weirdly so as to achieve a point. And then here's another problem. Along with his great speech, Clark's father says,
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
which I must say, I like that he says that we have to strive towards, and it's not something forced upon. But the preconceived notion that it is your ideals that we should all strive for still annoys me because is there even a choice? Though I will say this, my first problem as to why I hated Superman was the fact that he tries to pass himself as, being human. But here it's not as a parent. In fact, Superman clearly understands that he is not human, even from a young age, and he admits that. And you know what? As I said, I'll accept this. And it does make me hate him a little bit less. Even though when he's asked, he says that he's all for the American way, which in recent times isn't really a good thing. But I'll say this, Zack Boyd may be a questionable director, but he tried his best. Now, these aren't movie reviews, but goddamn, all these movies are unnecessarily long. Especially this one, Batman vs Superman. Like, first up, the aforementioned problem regarding Superman's self-righteousness is very prominent here. Yes, there was a misunderstanding, but we all know of Batman's ways of dealing with things, right? Even though I'm against it, but Superman then pulls up telling Batman to hang the cape, cause if justice has to be served, it has to be done by the law, even though it's not part of the law. And yes, I know that this makes no sense. But why is this man always at the center of attention? And I wouldn't even hate it if this man wasn't always like, oh, look at me, I'm so miserable, I'm so sad. Like, goddamn, I gotta toughen up. What the fuck? Then I decided to watch James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn. And I will tell you this, Lex Luthor is a hater. And I enjoy watching this man's hatred. Like, it just inspires me to hate as well. Like, kudos to him, like, kudos to him. And especially how he views Superman. And this is what I was talking about.
Superman. He's not a man. He's an it. A thing with a cocky grin and a stupid outfit that's somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation.
And now, when watching this movie, I couldn't help but understand this version of Superman better. But this version of Superman reminded me as to why I don't like Superman movies. Because of Lois Lane. Now, as perfect and as strong as this man is, he purposely leaves himself vulnerable to Lois. Why? I don't know. But I'll always hate simp behavior, especially since she seems to pour salt into his wounds. Now, how is it that me and Lex hate this man, yet we understand him more than you? Like, but I have never been in a relationship, so what do I know, right? But what I do know is that Superman is right in this conversation. Now, I don't know if I can play it.
Superman, did you consult with the president before entering Bravian airspace?
No.
The Secretary of Defense?
Nope.
Or any U.S. official before you took matters into your own hands and decided unilaterally how to handle this extremely delicate
Burkos and
situation?
his goons were going to kill people.
Yes, but the results of you seemingly acting as a representative
I
of the
wasn't
United States will
representing
cause
anybody
more
except for
problems
me
around the world.
and
More than a
myself
war that
and-
lasted
and
between
good,
12
I don't
and
know, doing
24 hours
good.
and was just replacing one tyrannical regime with another.
Is that really how you feel?
I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman, but I question it. Yeah, I would question myself in the same situation and hold off a beat and consider the consequences.
People were going to die.
Also, I don't know if it's the American way, but I'll always believe that human lives, people, will always be above the rules, and that rules should be regarded as guidelines and not some restraints to constrain people. So I'll give James Gunn that. But it's still a Superman movie, and I haven't seen a Superman movie without dumb characters. Again, people do the craziest of things due to the slightest of misunderstandings. Because you mentioned somewhere that people turned on him this quickly after everything he's done. Even though people act like this in real life, but this comes across as contrived. And yes, I know what happened to Jesus, but again, the controversy is still there. Especially the message from his parents. When I watched this for the first time, I thought, that's weird, but it's whatever. And then the rest of it came out, and then I was like, but why though? Was James Gunn really uncreative enough to come up with the better idea for conflict? Like, really? I guess nobody's perfect, right? But the irony or the point James was trying to make here was that Superman is human just like everyone else, which then brings us to his speech.
That is where you've always been wrong about me, Lex. I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared. I wake up every morning and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time. But that is being human. And that's my greatest strength. And someday, I hope, for the sake of the world, you understand that it's yours too.
Oh, that's beautiful. But none of this matters, you patronizing clown.
Now, while I may not agree with Lex that he's patronizing, but the air of superiority is still there. No matter how much he tries to pass himself as being a human, he just won't be. And just because he can describe it, doesn't mean he can't be it. Now, initially I had this intense hatred for Superman and how he stood for what he stood for, and including, who he is. But when I wanted to verify the reasons as to why I hated this man, I realized that some of that hate only existed because of me. Now, maybe I'm like less in this regard, but make no mistake, I still hate this dude. Though I will say, he may not be my top 10 anymore. Anyway, now, I might try reading some of his comic books, but I don't know where to start. I tried reading the actual Superman one, but I couldn't find a proper English version online. So recommend me some good Superman ones, and well, that's
That's
all,
all,
folks.
folks.
Someone have to say that
Is he allowed to
legally?
say that? Legally?